environment that's going to change with each day. But what I can tell you is post-liberation, the Iraqis are doing everything they can to ensure that they didn't miss anything in their clearance, and the hold forces take over areas that are secure. That's a foundation. That's a foundation of every measure of stability beyond that. You got to have that foundation of security. The Iraqis are mindful of that, and they're doing everything they can to ensure that they maintain that foundation of security, which leads to stability. They're very mindful of the fact that those essential services need to security that leads to stability, because those essential services follow stability. And the opening of schools is a good indicator of, number one, their attention and mindfulness of normalizing what has been 2 years of tyranny and oppression in eastern Mosul as quickly as possible, but doing it in a way that's safe so that the children are protected when they go into schools and the neighborhoods that they've absolutely gone back through and cleared and ensured that there's no other remnants of war or enemy forces.
Now to Tony Capaccio with Bloomberg.
Hi, sir. I have a couple tactical questions. To what extent is the A-10 and the AC-130 gunships being used in urban areas in Mosul? And I have a follow-up.
So we're using both of those, and that's with a suite of highly sophisticated, incredible coalition aircraft that we have available to strike Daesh at any time and place of our choosing. But we're also complement those aircraft with some surface capability that is also equally sophisticated, allowing us to do precision strikes at a time and place of our choosing against Daesh to keep them on the run and continue to erode away his capacity.
There's a lot of interest in Washington, as you know, about the A-10. Can you give a couple examples of how it's being able to surgically strike urban sections of Mosul?
I can't. I'm not an Air Force pilot. I'm just a CJFLIC commander. But what I can tell you is that the coalition air capacity that we have and the capability we have is incredible. 19 countries several countries committed to the same cause, eliminating Daesh from the country of Iraq.
To what extent is offensive cyber been used in this operation to disrupt Daesh command and control?
I can't comment on tactics, techniques, and procedures that we use to degrade the enemy's mission command systems or degrade his capability.
In general, though, Secretary Carter has talked about the use of offensive cyber. But this is a good example. You might be able to give us at least a broad overview of how it's being used in this tactical situation.
I can't talk about the tactics, techniques, and procedures that we use against the enemy here.
Thanks.
Thanks to Lucas Thompson with Fox News.
General Martin, is the U.S. military still operating under the authorities from the prior administration?
Our mission has not changed, and we're operating under the exact same set of authorities.
And just to be very direct here, so since President Trump took office, there's not been any change of orders or orders to ramp up airstrikes against ISIS?
Our orders here have not changed since the 20th of January.
And finally, the Prime Minister of Iraq has initiated an investigation into some of these Shia militias accused of some retribution of Sunnis outside Mosul in and around the city. Has the U.S. military seen any evidence of this retribution?
I can't recall any evidence of this retribution, but what I can tell you is, the PM has a zero-tolerance policy, and it's because any retribution from anybody is unacceptable behavior, and it is not conducive to further stabilizing the country beyond this conflict and the tyranny of Daesh. And so, as you heard, the Iraqis will make an investigation. They'll do their investigation, and I'm sure we'll hear from them after they complete their investigation.
Thank you.
Carla Babb with Voice of America.
Thank you, General, for indulging me on one last Iraq question. There have been reports out of Syria that there's infighting among the jihadist groups there as more and more strikes have been occurring and as territory is being lost by Islamic State. Have you seen anything similar in Iraq?
So we have. I can't get into detail exactly as to how I've arrived at that conclusion, but I would assert to you that there has been infighting amongst the ranks and amongst the different cohorts of Daesh, and these are typical indicators of an enemy that's becoming desperate, and his structure and his capability is crumbling below him, and so you'll see some of this infighting. It's something that is somewhat expected.
Seen Al Qaeda or other groups try to move in on Daesh territory?
I have not.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, could you give your name and affiliation?
Yeah, Raghuveer Gaur, I'm with India Globe in Asia Today. My question is that now we have a new administration, a new president. What do you think the future will be as far as going after all these terrorists, and how much role or what role you think India can or is playing? Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, sir. I could not understand you.
Was now with the new administration, what do you see for the future of operations against terrorist groups, and what role do you see India playing in those operations? Over.
I can't speculate on what the future is going to hold. What I can tell you is that we're going to stay here with this 19-country coalition and the CJ in Iraq, and we're going to stay right beside the Iraqis and continue to the finish line of defeating Daesh in Iraq.
Sir, go ahead. Oh, one follow-up.
One more. Since 19 coalition countries are here, there are 67 countries fighting in Syria. And do you have any connection with these two, with 67 countries fighting in Syria and other places?
As the commander of Iraq, I really can't answer any questions authoritatively on Syria.
Thanks, sir.
Sir, could we get your name and affiliation, please?
Jeremy here with Politico. General, just a quick follow-up. Have you been asked, you said you haven't had any new authorities, but have you been asked for any recommendations, or have you offered any on changes to, say, rules of engagement or the tempo?
No, and look, I know some folks come in the room a little bit later, but just let me reiterate this point because I think it's a good one to drive home. Around the end of one administration, beginning of the new one, you saw that there was a change in operations here, but it was a function of the Iraqis taking an operational opportunity to reflect on what had happened in the first 60 days. They changed a couple things up, they moved a couple units around, and they synchronized their actions. And so you've seen an increased tempo as a result of unadulterated Iraqi decision-making on the way they want to conduct operations. And we, as a result of that, with our advisory capacity, have been able to help them with our strikes because of the activities that they've forced the enemy to do while attacking in the way they're attacking. And so that's really the reason that there's been an increased tempo. And you can go back statistically to the 29th of December, and that was the day that began. And maybe not statistically, but that's when the tempo really increased, and it was a result of those operations.
I think we have time for one more question. Going once, going twice. Thank you very much. General, do you have any closing words for us?
I just want to thank you all for being there, and as I started off with, listening to me. Please tell our story. Tell the story of what's going on over here in Iraq. This country has done an incredible job fighting a very resilient and adaptive foe, but Iraq is committed, and as we are in the coalition, to defeating Daesh here. That's all I've got.
Sir, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Goodbye.